Thought I'd do a video based on recent events with the wildfires in California, and in recent years, we've seen natural disaster fires in Canada and Hawaii. And I want to do a video that if there is a smoke problem outside of your home, what you can do about it as far as making sure that you are breathing good, clean air inside your home. Now, I just want to say, just as a preface, that my thoughts and prayers go out to those that are being affected by the damage and devastation from one of these natural disasters. I remember when I live in Virginia, which is on the east coast of the United States, and when the wildfires were happening in Canada, some of that smoke was making it all the way down to us. I mean, miles and miles away, making it to us. And so whether or not you're being affected by a natural disaster or the neighbor is doing a brush fire that day, what can you do about it? So I want to give you a few tips, some things to think about as we go through this video. The first thing I'll say, the best thing to do in a lot of cases, especially with natural disasters such as the one in LA, and that is evacuate, get away from the problem if you can, wear a respirator if you can, especially if you are inhaling any of this. And we talk about a lot of different things on our YouTube channel from an indoor air quality standpoint, things like VOCs, which we'll talk a little bit more about in just a moment, other things like odors and so on. But smoke specifically is something that a lot of times folks know that they are breathing it, right? So unlike some of the other things that we are exposed to in our homes and outside of our homes, smoke, on the other hand, in a lot of cases, whether it's because of the odor or because we can see it, we know that we are being exposed to it. And you can read all kinds of articles online why that's bad, why you should not be inhaling smoke. Now, in the case where it just simply doesn't make sense to evacuate or wear a respirator constantly, the EPA has an article where they have talked about having a designated clean air room in your home and some of the tips that go into that. I'll put a link down in the description of this video to that exact article. But let's talk about some of the other things you could do in addition to that. The first thing is, I think smoke has a particulate count, right? It is a something floating through the air that you can filter. And so having a system where you can filter that air is important. So whether your conventional heating and air system, maybe you need to figure out how to get better filters installed. Now, you don't want to just go to any old box store and buy the most expensive filters, because I always think of filters as, you know, there's holes that you can see between my hands, right? So imagine a filter and then you go buying a more expensive filter and those holes just get smaller. You could be restricting the air going through your heating and air system. So just simply buying one of those filters and slapping it in your filter grill does not necessarily take care of this. In a lot of cases, you may have to get a whole house home filter with a high MERV rating, checking the static pressure on your ductwork before and after installation. You may have to put something called a bypass filter in there, a HEPA filter that would not restrict the air going through your heating and air system, but it still would allow your system to filter the air even better. Another thing you can do for smoke and other types of odor specifically, there are charcoal filters on the market. I'll put a link down in the description of this video for some of the best charcoal filters that are on the market and some other HEPA filter options. But let's just say I'm in the thick of it as I'm watching this video, right? That's what you may be saying to me, Josh, I can't just go install a bunch of ductwork and this crazy filtration system right now. I need a solution right now. I'm experiencing it right now. There is something that you could build DIY style. It's something called a Corsi Rosenthal box. And what I think is funny is these guys, Corsi and Rosenthal, think that they invented this. I was reading the article where they talk about how they came up with this idea years ago. And I remember literally decades ago, a college student at VCU building one of these boxes to filter the air in his apartment. So maybe he was before his time. I remember kind of making fun of them because they were just this funny contraption looking thing. But you essentially can take a box fan and tape filters around it and filter the air in your home that way. And those filters can grab particulates out of the air. Another thing you can do is purchase one of the Daikin air cleaning machines that we have talked about on our YouTube channel before. I did a video where we unboxed one and set it up. I've got one right here in my office as we speak. They're super quiet. They filter the air and clean the air as they go through that machine. Daikin is one of the sponsors on our YouTube channel, so I just want to mention that. But if you want to check out or possibly purchase one of these machines, I'll put a link down in the description of this video to one of those as well. Now let's talk specifics. The EPA has recommended to catch a particulate as small as smoke that you need to have an air filter with an MERV rating, MERV. The higher that number, the smaller the particulates it will catch. And you want to have an air filter that is a MERV 13 or higher. So whether you are going to build one of these contraptions like the Corsi Rosenthal box or one of the other options that we've been talking about, MERV 13 is kind of what you're looking for. Now, in a lot of homes, we've talked about in other videos, when we don't want to breathe certain things in the home, such as VOCs and some of the other things we're breathing, we want to have ventilation in our home where we're bringing in outside good, clean, fresh air, right? I would say in most cases, you want to have that ventilation turned off in this case, especially in instances like these natural disasters. However, if you are going to leave it running, it needs to be filtered. That air that's being brought into the home, there are ventilation systems where it's not necessarily filtered. I would definitely want to make sure that I have a ventilation system that filters that air even before it enters the ductwork of my conventional heating and air system. And just know, in some cases with these fires and other natural disasters, you may be actually bringing VOCs into your home. And that's why I say shut it off. It's not something, especially if you have a home that has a high VOC count, I wouldn't want to leave it off for extended amounts of time. But there's an interesting article that I will put down in the description of this video where some folks did some testing and they found out that homes where this smoke did come into the home, that the walls and floors can actually trap the VOCs that are coming from that, and that in some cases the best thing to do is just literally clean those surfaces, clean your home, clean your walls and floors, remove what's causing the VOCs to happen. But if you're bringing in outside air into your home, you could be bringing more than just the smoke itself. You could also be bringing in carbon monoxide, possibly, depending on how close the source of that smoke is. You could also be bringing in, depending on how bad the disaster is, you could literally be pulling in things like a gas leak into your home as well. So just be aware of all of that. We'll talk what to do in addition to all that. But the last thing I'll say is if you do have any pets or animals outside your home, please bring them inside. Even if they're normally an outside pet, they are breathing this stuff too. They are exposed. They're outside in that smoke as well. Let's get them out of that environment as much as possible as well. That should go without saying, but people do that all the time. And the last thing I'll say is you can test the air in your home. You can know whether your particulate count or carbon monoxide or an array of issues, VOCs, what they actually are, what the count is with some of the products that are out there as far as testing the air. And as I've said a million times in this video, I'll put a link down in the description of this video on some of the products that you can do that. You can have real-time testing, know what's going on before and after a product is installed, or before and after you, say, built one of those filter contraption boxes. There are other products out there. There are UV light products. There are ionic purifying products. There's even products that use hydrogen peroxide, for example. Now, some of these products are getting a bad name in our industry. Some of the guys are saying that they're snake oil, that they're making claims and they're not delivering on those claims. And that's why I wanted to bring up air testing before, because some of these products can be quite pricey and you can actually test before and after installing one of them. But one thing I do want to point out, a lot of folks will say, hey, Josh, you know, I'm thinking about going with this air cleaner that uses UV light and this one that, say, uses more filtration, or maybe another one over here that uses ionic purification. Just know that they're all different. They all do different things. And sometimes it's not an either or kind of thing. And sometimes, some cases, it's an addition to, it's a layering thing. Because they all do something different, you can install multiple of these products to maybe get an end result. So I'm not going to make any claims. I'm actually not going to put a link down in the description of this video for any of those products, because I think if you have a heating and air technician talking to you about one of those products, I think it's very important, again, for you to test that air, for you to be able to test it, not his little tester that he's trying to sell you something with, but just something that you can test the air before and after they install that product. One of the things we used to do at my heating and air company was we would tell the customer that we would remove it free of charge if they didn't get the end result that they wanted, which used to give me a front row seat to what actually worked and didn't. So unless you have a heating and air company that's willing to do that, if it's a non-refundable product and they want 1, 2, 3 grand, some of these products guys are charging to install them, then I would, get something in writing and so on. So I'm getting a little off topic there, but that's just a little tip there. Ultimately, if this is a problem that you're dealing with or happen to deal with in the future, I just want to say, I'm sorry you're going through that. Maybe some of these tips, if you follow, trying to filter that air, trying to make sure that your family's breathing good, clean air as you weather the storm, if you will, that's a good thing. You can get through it. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section. I'd love to hear them. If you like this video, I think you'll like this one even more. It's where I talk about why a lot of folks don't like mini splits and what you should know about it. Thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button. We'll see you next time.